Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 5th January 2017. The first article is Bengaluru's Night of Horror. It is related to the recent horror occurred on the Bengaluru roads on the New Year Eve. So, what we need to understand are two things over here. As the society matures, we can calculate the maturity based on its respect for the women, marginalized, and people with alternative opinions and lifestyles. And the second is, wherever the women are mainstreamed, there the progress of the nations is much better. Wherever the gender diversity exists in the companies, the productivity and profitability of the companies is higher. And third thing is, the society also need to get sensitized to the gender. Now, if these three things have to happen, there has to be one common thing, that is the safety of the woman. And this safety shall be the responsibility of both the state and society. So, unluckily in India, both the state and society are not gender sensitized. You know about the society which is paternalistic, but the state and its functioning, if you see, there are no sufficient women in the state human resources. And the state work process had not taken the sensitivities of the women into consideration when they are designed, and we are still following them. And also, many laws in the country are discriminative against women. So, laws alone cannot make a difference. We also need to have better enforceability of the laws. After the Delhi rape incident has occurred, the criminal law was amended, and any stalking of the woman itself is an offense where a person can be jailed. So, in India, laws are made the toughest to reflect the situation, but however, their implementation is the weakest. So, tougher laws are not the solution, but the certainty of the punishment is the solution. So, we need to make the law implementation better to protect the rights of the woman. And second thing is, a well educated woman who is employed, she can change the face of the family, society, and the nation together. So, every mother shall try to sensitize his child, male child, and then she has to tell them that yes, this male child or else this person has to respect the woman from his early days. So, all this societal change, unless comes up, or gender equality, unless nourished in from very childhood, this menace cannot be ended. And coming to wheels within the wheels in Uttar Pradesh. Now, let us not go into politics that are happening in Uttar Pradesh. Let us see it this way. The national parties in India are getting more and more centralized. And we thought that the regional parties will be different from them. But whatever the ills which we had in the national parties, that is high command politics, these are also coming forward, coming back into the regional parties too. So the UPs, whatever happening over there, the personality cult, domination of the family, lineage politics, everything are being visible now. And then the Stalin at the helm, it also shows the politics of the families, hereditary lineages in a political system. Now, if we carefully observe, the AIA, DMK, Dravida parties, these are not based on the familial lineage, but these are based on the cadre strength and ideology. But over a period of time, the personality cult has entered into these Dravida parties. The very ideology brought in by the Periyar and Annadurai, they are coming to an end. So now, Tamil parties have become synonymous with populism and also the personality cult and the domination of the family. Now, coming to running into the Chinese wall, this is the only beautiful article which I found today. Now, the global consensus was created against terrorism after 9/11 attacks in United States of America. So, in this context, Al Qaeda and Taliban, these were said to be the two toughest terror organizations the world has to fight to. And in this context, 1267 committee has come into existence. Any person who is listed under this 1267 committee or any organization that is listed over this, no money can be transferred and there will be a blockade on their financial transactions. Now, India is requesting for Masood Azhar to be listed under this 1267 committee, which is being blocked by China. So here, this collective motion is been put forward by, that is, France, UK and USA. The China has objected to that in the UN Security Council, or I will use the word vetoed that. And then Russia is silent. The Russia silence is something which India has to surprise. And second thing is, the consensus which was been built, it appeared slowly drifting away. Now, when 9 by 11 has occurred, the US-Russia relations are all-time high, and Russia has voluntarily come forward for the fight against the terrorism, and it has offered all its help to the President Bush then. And Russia has its own reasons for that. Because Russia is also suffering from the terrorism in Chechnya and other regions. And China was also suffering from Uyghurs, especially in its Xinjiang province. So the world has come together to support the American fight against the terrorism, and a global consensus was nurtured. Now, it was very much useful to India to pressurize the Pakistan from the international community and expose the Pakistan's cross-border terrorism. But today this consensus is breaking. Now, if you take the ISIS, fight against ISIS, there is no consensus among the world. And the second thing is, the Taliban, the United States, Pakistan, China together have initiated the talks with Taliban. So because of this, many of the Taliban leaders are been listed out from 1267 committee. And the United States, once it is been left, the Russia tries to seek its space in the Central Asia and also in South Asia. So the Taliban, there is a background talks between the Taliban, Pakistan, China and Russia. Recently there is an agreement where Taliban has clearly stated that they will not attack the infrastructure projects. Because China is building its One Belt, One Road from China to Kashgar to Gwadar, Gwadar to Central Asia to Europe. This huge infrastructure project is coming up. And it needs its safety. That's why it has opened the backdoor channels to talk with the Taliban. So it means good Taliban and bad Taliban issue has come up again. And another issue is the Russia-USA rivalry has further worsened the situation. Especially if you talk about Syria, the United States has openly supported the rebels, and Russia has supported the Assad government. We all know about that. So again, if you come to China, it is facing the terrorism in its own province, but it is actively involved in talks with the Taliban. Pakistan is a victim of terrorism, but it is interested in cross-border terrorism. So it means everyone are using the terrorism, are oblivious or blind to the terrorism happening in the other countries, but they are conscious about the terrorist activities happening on their soil. This breakdown of the consensus on terrorism is going to be a bad norm for India. That's why we need to fight to rebuild this consensus on the terrorism. So for a level playing field, the gender discrimination is inbuilt in Indian society. So wherever the masculinity is involved, the very woman presence over there is been seen as a deviation. So in the case of wrestling, it has been naturally seen as the men's sport because it involves technique, weight, etc. Now, it is mostly seen as just a weight sport or heavy game where the muscle and arm power will be determining the results, but it is not. So there is a technique too. Women entering into that clearly shows that the empowerment of the women into the sports, but however, there is no general encouragement towards that. The few cases are like islands where they got excelled because of their interest in the sport rather than the state encouragement. Now coming to the news page. Now China's stance on the terror is self-defeating. It is about Masood Azhar. Now previously when Lashkar-e-Taiba was supposed to be included in 1267 committee, so the China said there are no sufficient evidences. But in the case of the Masood Azhar, there are sufficient evidences. He himself wrote a book, From Prison to Freedom, in which he has explained his various terror adventures. And then, when Indian Airlines flight was hijacked, IC-814 was hijacked from Nepal to Kandahar, he was the person who was released from the jail and submitted to these terrorists. And his Jaish-e-Mohammed is involved with Pathankot and Uri terror attacks. So the China double standards with regard to terror are going to be a harm to the entire global peace. That's what our nation talks about. And coming to the world page, the state media cautions China over India's labor costs. Now, if the global capital has to move, they shall get the proper labor. In this, cost of the labor and the skill of the labor are important. In India, the skill of the labor is a problem, but the cost of the labor is very cheap. So the skill of the labor need to be increased. But China's advantage is the nourishment of the skills for its people. Now, China wants to move from low-cost manufacturing to high-cost manufacturing. Then India obviously is going to be the next choice. The Apple and all these companies are looking for India now. So the low-cost labor workforce, that is the major advantage for India. So what the China talks about is, the central and western China, it has got abundant land and abundant workforce, but however, they do not have the capital to bring in the productivity. So in this area, it can explore for the low manufacturing jobs rather than providing an opportunity for the other countries. That's what the article talks about. And let's go to the business page. So with regard to India is concerned, there are no much news, just he has spoken about net neutrality. So what is meant by this net neutrality? So I already have discussed this issue, but however, let's revise this. Now, so irrespective of what you are using, the data shall not discriminate what you are using, either by its speed, by preferential access, or by quality. So that's what is called net neutrality. The consumption of the data or pricing of the data or speed of the data shall be same for every pocket of data consumed by the customer. That's we call it as net neutrality. Now, as you review the questions, so try to go through these questions. So there are some problem with the website because the website uploading guide did not come for the last 3 days. So I'll ask him to upload today. So all the notes will be available for the download for today. And thank you very much. And from tomorrow I will try to upload it early in the morning. So again, the notes is available at laix.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much and all the best.